Auzu billahi minash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Well, in the previous lecture, we talked about uh, figures of speech, and in both the lectures, we talked about poetry, who's a poet, and what are the different figures of speech mostly used by the poets in order to decorate and make their poetry understandable. So, today, this is the third part of figures of speech, and in this lecture, we'll be discussing uh, about one of the most important figures of speech, that's image or imagery. Well, what's an imagery? Imagery is the foundation of poetry because through these images, poets make us go and roam through different landscapes of the thoughts that flash across the minds of the poets. This is what actually makes poetry colorful. So let's see what imagery is all about. Image. What is an image? Image, as we say, uh, we understand an image is a sketch of a thing that we actually see around us. And what is imagery in poetry? How it is creating pictures in our minds. Let's see. Image refers to the mental representation of an idea. Mental representation means mind's representation of an idea or a thought that we actually wish to convey to someone, that we go through, or poet goes through. Then that thought is put before somebody, presented before somebody through images. Then it becomes easier for the reader, for who is reading the poetry and understanding the poetry, becomes easier for him to understand a particular thought that a poet wants to make others know about. So it's a mental representation, mind's representation of different thoughts or an idea. Conception expressed through certain words means certain words are used by the poets to convey the actual thought of what goes on and on in his mind. So expressed through certain words that have an undercurrent meaning means words that create meaning, that create pictures with it, then a reader easily becomes able to understand this. Then, in other words, it is a picture made out of words, means pictures made by the words. Pictures made out of the words means those words that create pictures. Once we see things, then we shut our eyes for some time, then we recall the image of those things, and sometimes certain words refer us to click on the things that we have actually seen before, but these words help us to create pictures in our minds. Example क्या है? This is the last stanza of the poem When You Are Old by famous poet, Irish poet W.B. Yeats. When he is actually admiring Morgan about her beauty, he is telling her that when you are old, when you will grow old, you will remember me. Because I didn't love your beauty, I didn't love your face, I just loved the pilgrim soul, I just loved the spirit and that iron will in you that actually impressed me all the way. And here's the last stanza that I have written on the board. that will make you understand how poet has created pictures out of the words. Okay, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And loved the sorrows. The word sorrow itself is actually creating a picture in the minds of the reader. When we hear about the word sorrow, we understand a particular expression on somebody's face. What is sorrow? Sorrow is not something that can be seen, but sorrow is something that can be perceived sometimes by the expressions of the face. So, sorrow is a word that conveys a picture, an expression that cannot be put into picture, but that can be perceived or that can be, experienced. So, your changing face. Face is a word here in which if we shut our eyes, we remember when we say face, the word face, it automatically brings in our minds a picture of face of a person, face of a lady, or face of anything or any animal, because the word face is relevant to the complexion of a person or a thing. Okay, then the bending down besides the glowing, loves glowing, or the word glowing itself conveys a brightness, a kind of picture, the picture of brightness. Glowing conveys, or glowing tells us about the brightness of something, and that creates a kind of picture or a photo in our mind. Bars. Bars is another word that is actually conveying, creating picture in the minds of the reader, because we have seen bars, and when we hear the word bar, it makes us understand, it makes us think that bar has a particular shape and form. Then, and placed upon the mountains overhead. Again, again the word mountain. When we talk about a word mountain, a huge, massive, stony rock comes in our minds. A huge pile up of soil and sand and rocks and many things associated with the mountains come in our minds. Not necessarily seeing at the moment of speaking the mountain, but it automatically creates a kind of picture, it creates a picture of a mountain in our mind when we talk about the word mountain. Okay, then these words are called images in the poetry. So how many words are conveying? Sorrow is one, bright glowing is one, face is another, and then there is bars, then there is the word mountains. These words create pictures. When we talk about them, when we hear about them, we actually create pictures in our minds when we hear about them and when we speak about them. The another important, what we call, figure of speech is hyperbole. Hyperbole is an over exaggeration of things. Hyperbole, what's a hyperbole? Let's see. Is a figure of speech. Hyperbole is a figure of speech. Figure of speech which refers to exaggeration. Refers to exaggeration. Exaggeration. By these things are represented means this is an over exaggeration of thing. If a common thing is exaggerated, is made something extraordinary, the technique in poetry is called hyperbole. Wordsworth's famous poem, The Daffodils, is very famous for this, because when he says 10,000 I saw at a gallons. 10,000 I saw at gallons, tossing their heads in a sprightly dance. Gallons and dance, these are rhyming words. So 10,000. This is not possible. When somebody looks at something, he is at the same time counting them. No, this is not possible. But the poet over exaggerates a particular quantity of something. When he says, he's talking about daffodils, he says 10,000 I saw at a gallons. मैंने एक ही नज़र में 10,000 नरगिस के फूल देखे. That means he is actually trying to exaggerate, trying to brag about this quantity of daffodils. He is actually impressed with the quantity of these daffodils. Then he calls, when he says 10,000 I saw at a gallons, tossing their heads in a sprightly dance. He is making it rhythmical. One. Second thing, he is making it look extraordinary, or he is making a natural thing look supernatural. That is the trait of Wordsworth. He is making common and ordinary things look extraordinary. While on the other hand, the another romantic poet, Mr. Coleridge is making ordinary things, supernatural things look ordinary things. This is the difference between Wordsworthian concept of perceiving things and Coleridgean concept of perceiving things. So these two important figures of speech need to be kept in mind, because whenever we go through or come across with poetical lines, we come across with these figures of speech. Thank you very much. Inshallah, in the next lecture we'll be talking something else, because it consumes much time. We don't have much time. So thank you very much.